Welcome back to the channel. We have a special occasion. Recent departed left us a new project. Let's see what it is. So we have a 2008 Dodge Caliber CSRT-4. It is fully rebuilt. This is my brother's car. He recently passed away, and I went out to Maryland and helped his wife by taking it out of her driveway because it has sat there for the past 2 years because he got hit by somebody on the driver's side. And you can see when I went out there's a little damage right there. This is kind of bent up right through here. Got a little crease right there. And then the driver's side door was pushed in. Not how he died, but he'd rebuilt the car, has 70 miles on a new engine with forged rod and piston, and I think he put about $10,000 into the engine rebuild and tuning and ACT clutch, and ended up getting hit in the side 70 miles into the break end. So ever since then, he's been had some financial difficulties and just couldn't put anything into it, or for whatever reason just let it sit. And then when he passed away, she didn't really know what to do with it. So here we are. Big thanks to my father-in-law, Mike, who road tripped out there with me, and we picked up the car and trailered it back. 12 hours there, 12 hours back. So we have a bench strut in the front. I had to replace the control arm and the axle and a couple other components in there so that it would actually roll up onto the trailer. It does run. Got a new battery for it out there. And overall, for the engine work that has done to it, 6-speed manual, all the factory. Whenever Dodge built these, they only put about 5,000 or 6,000 of the George Gillis sign dash, and the intake is obviously gone, but pretty nice little car actually. So I told her I would fix it and we would keep it. Nice little hatchback, a little bit of cargo space, and he actually set it up to be able to handle 700 horsepower. So once we have it driving and running good, we'll I already reached out to the tuners. He used HP tuning in California, and sent him an email about what happened, and hopefully he'll respond. And I have the tuner that Jason used to plug in, but I don't have access to the tunes or anything, so we're working on that. That's down the road. But it does have the break-in tune on it, and I don't even know that he got very far with... You're supposed to run data logging for the first couple passes during the break-in, and then after you do all the data logging, you send the log back to the tuner, and then they'll put the final tune on it. So hopefully they'll respond. This is kind of a mix between like they didn't produce this car very long. I think it was like 06 to 2012 or so. But they made all different kinds. There's a V6, there's the 4-cylinder 2.4 liter non-turbo, there's the all-wheel drive, which would be cool to get the all-wheel drive components, but from what I understand, it's an automatic. In the forums that I've watched and YouTube videos that I've watched, they don't really hold up to much power. So it'll be kind of a summer car and decent weather commuter car. Definitely not like a heavy winter driver, not like the Subaru. But anyways, it is a good project. I'm confident that I can get it at least to the point where we're able to drive it around and we'll continue to spruce it up and bring it back to its former glory. If I can find some good videos, I know he's got some YouTube clips of it, I'll post those. But took the door off because of the only being able to put one bolt in it during commute, and then had to duct tape around the seam because it still wasn't fully sealed. But made it here, no extra damage, no internal or interior issues. And yeah, so what we're going to do now is we are going to pull this strut off and find out. I'm fairly certain, if you look at that, I don't know if you can tell, but it's sitting in the bushing crooked. I'm pretty sure that the actual strut, the rod inside the strut is bent, and then the mounting point where the spindle mounts to the strut, we had to really manipulate that in there to get the wheel on. But we got it in there. It needs replaced. 2 out of the 4 bolt holes are snapped out, and it's twisted completely sideways. So I'm really surprised that it actually worked, but it did, and we got it here. So we'll get to work on this. I'm going to pull this tire off, pull the strut out, obviously get it on some jack stands, take that side skirt off. We have a replacement side skirt and a fender, and I have a porta power. I'm going to try to push this door frame out a little bit. I was actually thinking about using one of the old door hinges and hook into this, and the guy that I got the door from has the other hinges, and he also has a set of struts that he's going to sell me. So when I go to get those hinges and the struts or the coilovers, then we can use the old, we'll just remount the old door hinges, and then I can put a pry bar in there and pull that back a little bit to pull that pinch out so that we can actually put the door on and it'll seal. So aside from that, we're going to have to get really creative as far as pneumatics go to try to get this puppy pulled out. Otherwise, last ditch effort, I will drive it over to a frame puller and see if they can do a couple pulls on it. Or absolute worst case scenario, there is a couple donor shells in the area, one in Illinois. It's about 2 hours away for pretty cheap. We can just pull this engine out and the transmission. It does not have an engine and transmission in it, and then just plant that in there and then use all the parts off of this thing, with the exception of a couple that we can't use, on the donor roller chassis. So that's kind of the general game plan if we can't get this straightened out enough to make the body panels line up, and of course the door to seal. So yeah, let's go ahead and get to work by pulling this off and getting it on a jack stand and getting that strut out of there. Okay, a little bit of an update. I took the driver's seat out and I have a thinking chair now after dicking around with the porta power and blowing out the spring on my door handle or door hinge, which those are a dime a dozen. I can get those online all day long. I'm thinking, since this is the outer shell right here, that I'm gonna have to cut a little window right here and fold this piece of metal back that way, and then I can press from this side with the porta press and try to push this wrinkle out so that we can get that door closed. All right, so we got this porta power hooked up there and through there against this. It's coming out a little bit, and there's a pump right here. So as I push down, it comes out a little by little, but it doesn't like it over there. Snap the 2x4 again. So I'm going to hit this a couple times with that pressure on it. And, 'cause, 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 ' push again, reset and push again. Subframe on the other side wasn't really strong enough, and it broke a 2x4 in like 6 places. So this is just too damn strong to be able to push from that side out this way. But if you look right here, it's straight inside the car. Underneath the carpet, there's no wrinkles on the inside. So I'm thinking what I did is I took an angle grinder and cut out this valance or whatever they call it, the door frame, subframe, door valance. I don't know what it's called. The piece of metal that goes on top of the other piece of metal that goes on top of the frame around the door. So I cut that off because it was ruined. And then there's another piece right here that is tack welded through here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's got a seam right here that this piece should be able to come off. I'm thinking if I can cut through here up to this hole, then I can use I got this sweet little air hammer, which literally just busts through these seam welds. I pre-drilled them a little bit, but it just cuts right through this freaking metal. It's awesome. So if I can maybe cut through here, across here, and remove just this section, I might be able to get the door to close. But I think the door bolt holes for the bottom one is actually right there. So aside from that, if I leave that, we actually do need a frame machine or some sort of mechanism to pinch onto here. If we can pinch onto here and pull this down through here, it'll probably pull all that back and straighten it out to where we can get the door closed, because this is the problem right here, and that's pretty fucking thick. So we need to pull from this side and straighten this fender well out. Now there's a couple different options. I was thinking maybe I'd throw the seat back in it and then take it over to a local shop and see if they'd pull on it a couple times to try to straighten this out so that the door would open and close freely. If we can get that general pull done, there is one of these over at the junkyard that I could get this outer door valance and this piece right here off of. I'm fairly certain they would let me do that. And this is all steel, so I'd be able to sand all this down and just weld across this seam to clean that up, and then grind it down nice and flat, and then put a piece of metal on the inside of that one. So if they give the thing to me, I'll pop this off and I'll cut it back here, and then I'll cut it all the way down to the pinch weld on the bottom, and then we'll just take that whole section because it's got a seam right through here. So we'll cut that down, take this seam out, that'll release it, and then take this seam out up to here, and then cut across here, and this whole section goes up through right here. So we should be able, if we can get this straightened out a little bit to where the door will close, then we can put that section on from the junkyard. All right, you might not be able to hear me very well because I got the heater going. It's cold as hell outside. But we're removing some of these body panels, and this one was glued on right there. I cut it across here and then drilled through the surface weld on these 3 or 4, and then we'll take this and go across and pop that panel off right there. So let's see if we can get these off. All right, so just so you know, this is an air hammer. If you don't know, I had to Google it. I wasn't sure what this tool was, but this is 20 bucks at Harbor Freight, and it came with the little bit, which is like a chisel bit. This thing is the shit, especially for this type of work. So yeah, it went right through those welds. Nice clean removal. You can see right here that the bottom of the car is not bent. The frame and the inside, no damage in there. Just a little salt from the toe here. It's been too cold to take it and go wash. So, but yeah, we should be able to repair this as long as I can clean the weld up on these kick panels. I'm not very good at welding, so we'll position it and then vice grips along the edges, and then I'll hit some of these and then tack it here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then same with up here, 1, 2, 3, and then check it, and then we should be good to go ahead and do all the welds along here, the welds along the bottom, and it'll be in permanent place. But first we got to figure out, we need to get a pull on this to pull this down, straighten this piece out right here. You can see where it pushed up in. We got little gaps right here. So when we pull this out, it should close those gaps, and then it'll bring a little bit of range of motion this way for this section, and then I can put the hook in here and pull this out, and it'll pull out these folds, and I'll pound it as flat as I can. We really just need to get this section right here moved back that way. All right, little update. Tried to do a mechanism with the chain and with the little anchor puller. I tried to do a mechanism with engine hoist. Nothing can actually get enough torque to pull this out, so I decided to just take that panel off. Might be kind of a task to get the other part. I found the whole door valance that goes all the way around, but it's like 500 bucks, so still researching a little cheaper option, because all I need is that bottom little dog leg. So couple different salvage vehicles. Either way, what I did is I drilled through all the welds, cut across right there where I'm going to weld the new piece back in, and then this dog leg just stops. I cut that across there to try to find those welds that I had to sand through, and I'm using this little micro belt sander right there. As far as the pinch welds around the door jamb and in the fender well, I used a drill, 1/4 inch bit, and then just stopped part of the way through. That way I could weld the new piece back on. But yeah, once we have this off, that's the majority of the actual damage. And then we just have to find the new piece that we're going to replace. All right, progress. We got the shell case off that dog leg area. So I ended up having to take 2 layers. So this layer right here, which connects to the kick panel, and then the dog leg that started right here, I had to take that off and cut it right there. And what you can see inside here is we need to pull that section, minor pull, and then this needs to come down just a little bit on the corner to straighten that out. Then there is a bend right there. We are pulling an audible on the caliber. Got a little future hypothesis, but for now, we're gonna take a quick route and do an engine swap. So what we're gonna do is we're going to disassemble and take everything out of the engine bay. I'm gonna take this engine out, and we're going to put it into the donor car. I ended up getting a good deal on relative mile, same year, all black, Dodge Caliber. It's running and driving. It has a stuck thermostat, but this engine is going in that car, and we're going to soup that car up. And we are going to take that engine and put it in this car, and most likely put this car in storage until I have enough room and enough dollars to be able to have this one fixed. I'll still get the part off of the donor car that I got the other parts from to replace these panels, but for now we're going to go the quick route and get this thing running and driving and that motor moving and in use. So let's go ahead. We'll set you guys up on a tripod. We're going to just start tearing the engine out of this thing. All right, it is the next day. Just finished lunch and got my hair cut and all that, Saturday day off BS. And I've done a little bit of situating. I did actually work on the replacement car today, so I'll show you what we got. All right, so we got this situated. I rolled it back a little bit with the garage door closed just to the edge so we can get out the engine with as much room as possible. I ended up just taking a lot of stuff off. I think now I'm to the point to where I'm going to pop a couple more clips out of the wiring harness and pull it off to the side to clear the engine and transmission, and we should be good. When I was taking it apart yesterday, I noticed a number of things missing. There's a mount bolt right here missing for that. This engine, look at it, that wasn't even threaded in. So when he had it rebuilt, they must have thrown it back together as fast as possible. Anyways, so yeah, we got a lot of good parts on this one, and then this is what we got for the replacement. It's black. I like that a lot better. It's a stocky. The only thing it has on it is a cold air intake. And I replaced the thermostat this morning for 20 bucks. Took it for a drive. Does not overheat. Holds boost. Engine is in primo condition. That back door has a couple little dents in it, but aside from that, it's actually a really good donor roller. So we'll take all the crap out of this one, coilovers, probably some interior parts because the interior in this one's a little bit nicer. That one has some convenience options, like down there's an electrical plug. It has the hands-free up there, which this one does not have, and it has the HomeLink garage door openers, which are pretty crucial for me here. So a couple extra options. I think overall it'll be pretty good. I think there's some rust on the rocker panels, but those are like $100. So eventually, and black is pretty easy to match. And since it's underneath the side skirts, I'll probably replace those, use some spray paint to seal it, and then slap the side skirts back on and call it good. But other than that, yeah, let's keep on working. I'll set you guys back up on the tripod. We'll do a time lapse and we'll try to get this engine out of here, find a place to set it down. Okay, so we got the CV axles out. I've never seen a freaking manual transmission bleed out that much trans fluid when you pull out the CV axle, but apparently these do. They must have really low input shafts. But we got both sides out, got underneath, took the turbo manifold downpipe off, so that's disconnected. There's a bushing unhooked in the back, so it kind of tilts, so but it's unhooked, so we should be good there. Notice that the back bolt on this wasn't even threaded. I don't know if you can see that. Let me see if I can get some more light on it. So that's not even threaded down. I saw it sitting down on the pocket. It wasn't even on there. It was just laying in there. So that's two engine mounts that weren't even secured and torqued when they put the engine back in. This one and that one over there. What in the hell? So, anyways. Just looking for extra damage. Oh yeah, see that one? That one's not threaded either back there unless there's threads in that side. No bolt on the end of that one either. Hopefully that's a threaded side though. But you gotta pop that one out, this one out, these off, and I think instead of disengaging the air conditioning, I think I'm going to try to take the bolt off. I don't know, it might be easier just to drain the air conditioning system and then pull that whole unit out like that. Might just be easier, but getting close to being able to pull it out.
Yeah. 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 City lights flicker where the sinners play preacher. Graffiti scriptures on train cars, the steel messenger. Cobblestone pathways, souls caught in a shuffle. Every breath's a gamble, life's one long scuffle. Sirens kiss the night with their mournful cries. Alleyway choirs sing the truth behind the lies. Broken glass mirrors, the dreams left for dead. Where hope's just a story that the old heads fed. Concrete jungles, sermons spilling in the veins. Blood rivers flowing through urban chains. Skyscrapers whisper the secrets they hold. above and below. The streets stay cold. Clock ticking symphony, dangers, baseline, rats scurry faster, chasing shadow lifelines, moonlight hits the metal, chrome sparks glow, temptation lingers heavy where the shadows grow. Block wars waged where the cracks reveal scars, currency exchanged in the shells of old cars, young kings crowned with crowns made of sin, pawn shops thrive, dreams locked deep within. Fast hands feed the slow with the devil's grip. Wisdom's just a phantom, those with power skip. Jazz in the back alleys narrates the decay. Trumpets echoing where the lost souls stay.
Wanted to throw this back on record. My phone died, so I had to put it on a charge, but we got the engine out. Got a little leveler for like 30 bucks at Harbor Freight. The strap method was not working, so I found some good spots I thought were strong. I guess they are strong enough. I don't see them stressing at all. But now the task is to manipulate this stand over here so I can set the engine over here. I don't have quite enough of the angle to get it out and swing it around, so it's gonna take some doing.
Concrete jungle, sermons spilling in the veins. Blood rivers flowing through urban chains.
All right, there you have it. Engine is out.
Whisper,
Looks pretty clean, actually. That's it for today. I'll work on the other car a little bit tomorrow, and then could be it for this video. We'll see how much the footage is, but might actually just save the rest of it for another couple parts. But we got what we wanted accomplished today. Got the other car fixed, new thermostat, not overheating, running fine. Gonna drive it around for a little bit, maybe a couple days, who knows. Depends on how I feel tomorrow and how much I got going on. If I have the time after I get this thing out of the garage and covered in the driveway, I might be able to pull the other one in, and now that I know how to do it, might be a little quicker, but probably jinxing it. Anyways, we'll just see how it goes tomorrow. All right, welcome back to the channel. We got another episode here of the Caliber project. So we actually did have a little bit of progress, more just organizing off camera, but on the last video we finished up getting the engine out of the old one, and the next day it was just crappy out and I wanted to get it done, but I swapped over the coilovers onto the black car. So let me show you how far we've got so far. I'm ready to start disassembling the black caliber and proceed with the removal process of that engine. As soon as we get that one out, we're going to get it set on some sort of platform in the garage here out of the way, preferably on the other side, and then we're going to immediately put in the replacement engine. Might do a little bit of cleanup in the engine bay. Unless I run into something that's super grody, we're just going to slap that bitch in there. So let me show you how far I got. All right, so we got the black one in here. We got it up on jack stands. I was able to sweep out the garage a little bit. Still need to organize the tools before we start. Managed to get the red one out and in position. You can see that in the driveway out there. Kind of made a little bit of a mess with the brake fluid, but I was able to, with the, you'd be surprised how much lighter vehicles are whenever they don't have the engines in them. I was able to push it out and then slowly cut it over and get it right into position there. That's where it'll stay, and until we put it on jack stands and start disassembling. I'm going to take the rear suspension, the entire setup, rear suspension setup out of that car and put it on this one, because it's got a hitch on it and it's a lot more sturdy than the rusty one that's in here. Also with the coilovers, we need to let the coilovers out a little bit. They're just about an inch or so too low in the front, and they're hitting the fender well whenever I'm driving. Took a test drive. The back is fine, but the front sits damn near inside the fender well. And although that does look cool, I kind of want to bring it up a little bit, because I'm going to daily this thing in the summer, and I'd rather not bash out the fender wells and burn up the liners and ruin my tires. So yeah, so what we're going to do, first step here, is we're going to remove this front end. We're going to take the bumper off and drain the radiator, the coolant, take all of the pins and everything and put them in the box here. And then we will designate these two shelves over here for the takeoff parts for the black one, and those two shelves over there, that primary shelf right there, is the takeoff parts for the red one. So everything over here is going in, everything here is coming out. So, and then once we get the engine out, we will try to lift it up and bring it over here and set it down in this area. Try to figure out something a little bit more permanent than what that's sitting on right now. It's just wheels and some wood stacked up, so kind of precarious. I'm spitballing the idea of potentially removing the transmission before I take the engine out, so I have a little bit more room and maneuverability, because we're not using this transmission or this clutch. We're putting that entire unit in this one. So, and I'll sell the transmission and engine separately unless somebody wants to purchase them together. So anyways, let's get moving. All right, guys, we got the engine out. Engine bay looks all right. I'm gonna clean it up a little bit, but anyways, engine's out. I tore this one down a little bit more just because I'm gonna be selling it separate, and if I don't sell it, it'll end up being torn apart and rebuilt. But we took the transmission off before we got the engine out, and although it was a lot easier to get the engine out of the compartment here, the engine bay, with the transmission off, it was a total bitch to get that transmission out beforehand. It got wedged in there. It was wedged against the side over here. I had to lift up the engine, disconnect a couple of the engine mounts, get behind it, get the freaking engine mount that was mounted back here on the back of the transmission off of that engine mount right there. It was 10 times more of a pain in the ass to get the transmission off before I pull the engine out versus how I did it with this one. And I just disconnected everything, hooked up the chains, and lifted it out and kind of manipulated it out of the engine bay that way. So if I had to do it again, I wanted to do it both ways just to test out which way was easier. Once you have the transmission off, this way is way easier to get the engine out, but honestly, it was way quicker just to pull it out with the transmission attached. Some people that actually have a lift and a transmission jack could get this thing off the ground a little bit more, maybe 2, 3, 4 feet off the ground, and then take the cross member off the bottom, pull the engine mounts, and then drop it straight down, which a lot of people in the forums told me to do it that way. But as you can see, I am working with the bare minimum that you could probably do to do this job. So anyways, we got this engine out. We're going to get it situated in the garage here, kind of out of the way, and then we're going to hook up the cherry picker to the good engine, make sure it's set, get it nice and level, and then clean up this engine bay a little bit and then put it in. All right, I think I got it hooked up okay. Just on the motor mounts, one in the back. So we're gonna try to fit this. Good luck to me. You know what's really frustrating? Struggling as much as I did to get that in there, and turning around and that thing is facing the effing ground. God damn it. I don't even know how much it got. So, that sucks. Well, it's in. I'm going to take the crane off and make sure that I have the rear threaded. Put a jack underneath the bottom of the engine to take the tension off of the bolts, and then thread in the rear mount. Damn it, that sucks. Damn it. All right, pretty productive day, I think. Got the engine back in. Actually started this morning around 8 o'clock and had about 2 hours till the kids and The wife got home from church Easter Sunday today, so got a couple hours for wrenching church, and was able to get the old engine out and the new engine in one day. So made some pretty dang good progress. I guess they say, you know, preparation is 80% of the job, which is true, because I was able to strip the old one down a lot more than whenever I took it out of the original car. So it actually went back in okay. What I would suggest is taking out the motor mount on the right hand side of the engine bay just to get a little bit more clearance. I had to do that, and you can get it back in after the fact, all the bolts, all four. So yeah, we're just gonna go ahead. We'll probably end the video right there, and next video we'll pick up putting it back together, getting everything in the engine organized and back in there, and then hopefully go from the engine bay to the exhaust and then the drive axles. Once we have the drive axles and the exhaust on and everything in the engine routed, we should be good to go ahead and test it. Actually, no, we need to get some fluids and fill up the transmission, and then double check the oil has been sitting for a while, so we'll check that. It'll probably be good just to start it up, but yeah, just keep on moving. If you like this video, definitely like, subscribe, share the video, comment how I can do it better in my little shithole garage, and then keep your thoughts to yourself, because this is all I got to work with. Anyways, thanks for watching. Happy Easter. Peace.